Here we have the beautiful Storm with all the numbers. Good morning, Storm.
Good morning, Matthew. If you want to get in contact with us this bank holiday, then give us a call on 0207 173 5555. Calls will cost you no more than 10 pence per minute from a BT landline, but other networks and mobiles may vary. If you want to send us an email, then send it to wrightstuff@channel5.com, or you can text TWS plus your comment to 86611. Text will cost you 25 pence plus your standard network rate, and remember, not all messages will be seen on screen. Finally, if you are on Twitter, then just send us a tweet. It's @5RightStuff.
Nice one, Storm. Memo to those in the gallery doing the right stuff at the moment. If you are going to buy a coffee during the show, please don't go to Starbucks. Go to a chain that pays its due shares in taxes. And I'm in for a decaf mocha. After the break, we're asking if Chrissy Hind is wrong to blame herself for a sex assault she suffered 40 years ago because she was drunk, Larry, and as she said, provoked a motorcycle gang who wore I Love Rape badges. 0207 173 5555, the number you need. It's the panel's next first.
In recent years, who has been accused of victim blaming over their comments on rape? Is it former MP Ken Clark, former judge Mary Jane Mowat, or Sussex Police? Find out after the break.
I thought I was doing a good job with my normal toothbrush, but my dentist said no. He told me I should go pro.
Go pro with Oral-B Power. Oral-B's unique 3D action pulsates to break up plaque and rotates to sweep it away.
It just feels so clean.
Go pro with Oral-B Power.
She's gone pro with Oral-B Power, and so have I. Such a clean feeling. So join me and Julia and Alex and millions of others. Go pro today. Don't be the last to switch.
I want to feel like I'm an astronaut.
I love gadgets. I love the lights when you close the door. Bum, bum, go!
You get in your car, she's sitting down.
Business class.
It's exciting.
Heads blown in the wind.
I think me and cars were meant to be.
I'll be a very good driver. Ooh, little Miss Show Off.
Just because something's been done a certain way for years doesn't mean it can't be improved. That's why I started my online estate agency, Tepelo.com.
Hello!
We have all the services you'd expect from a high street agent, but online, including valuations, your own sale manager, and more. Plus, we advertise your home on both Rightmove and Zoopla. And at a fixed price of under £600, you could save thousands too.
Afternoon, Sarah.
Visit Tepelo.com now for a free valuation.
Everyone wants to know their car insurance covers the usual and at times the unusual. Like the time a trampoline blew into our customer's car. Having her no claims discount protected with RIAS came in handy. Despite a £1,600 repair bill, she didn't lose her no claims discount and was back on the road straight away. And unusually, with RIAS, you can protect your no claims discount for free. Call our UK-based advisors today on 0800 561 5151. RIAS Car Insurance, where experience counts.
Excuse me, we're doing some market research into why people like big brand products like Red Bull over the supermarket's own. This is Red Bull.
Okay, it's free.
Give this one a bash. Being the supermarket's own brand, what was more appealing?
There's not much between them.
That's more intense.
It's a bit more syrupy.
I'm going to tell you, I've swapped them over. This is in fact from Lidl.
Swap them? Seriously?
Really? Right.
Where can I buy that?
You can get this at Lidl.
Ah! Save over 70% when you shop a little smarter.
Lucky Tuesday. Win-win Wednesday. TGI Thursday. Feel good Friday.
Super Saturday! With 5 live draws a week and millions going to good causes in your communities. When you play the health lottery, you win, good causes win, everybody wins.
Good time. Just give me a call. Stop. Yes, I'm having a good time. I don't want to stop at all. Maybe now, take me into your loving arms.
Make your day magic. Tuesday on Channel 5. She saved them once.
Alex coming back. See, I'm shaking already.
Hello! But have they kept up their squeaky,
Really takes me back.
clean
These are like monastic cells.
reputation?
What in the name is that?
The Hotel Inspector returns Tuesday at 10 on Channel 5.
So in recent years, who's been accused of victim blaming over their comments on rape? The answer is all three.
There you go. Welcome back to our specially extended bank holiday show with Louise, Hazel, Dominic, Holland and Labour MP Dawn Butler. Dawn's going to bring you all the other headlines shortly, but first, on many of today's front pages still, we're asking if Chrissie Hynde was wrong to blame herself for a sex assault she suffered 40 years ago. 027 555 the number for your thoughts. The Pretender star, who's now 63, told a Sunday paper, if I'm being leery, putting it about and being provocative, then you are enticing someone who's already unhinged. Don't do it. Hynde's soon-to-be-published autobiography details how the rocker was forced under threat of violence to perform sex acts on members of an American motorcycle gang when she was 21. And again, quoting from the interview, you can't mess about with those kind of people, she says, especially people who wear I love rape and on your knees badges. If you play with fire, you get burned. But if I'm walking around and modestly dressed and someone attacks me, then I'd say that's his fault. Now, her forthright views have divided opinion. Anti-rape campaigners, by and large, say that while it's typical of victims to question whether they were at fault, they are never to blame, regardless of factors they feel may have made them vulnerable, what they were wearing, whether they were drunk. This, in turn, led to social media, frankly, tearing into Hynde, apparently regardless of the fact that she was the victim of a serious crime. The singer was branded variously ignorant, her views appalling by the so-called Twitterati. And she's not the first to question, of course, if victims of rape and sex assault have somehow been responsible. There was, I suppose, the row kicked off with Judge Pickles in the late 80s, who said a woman was asking for it if she wore a miniskirt. Back in April, anti-rape campaigners had a go at Sussex police for spending cash on this poster. Which one of your mates is most vulnerable on a night out? The one you leave behind. Many sexual assaults could be prevented, it argues, if you stick together. So, you've got all of this going out there. Critics say that poster, by the way, implied women were to blame, but police say it was about minimising risk. And I have to say, on that score, I'm fairly sympathetic to Chrissie Hynde's point of view, and not just because she would know better than anyone what happened that night in Ohio. If the police were right to advise us to think twice before getting our mobile phones out once you come out of a station, lest you get mugged, then how can it be wrong to warn women to take care lest they get attacked? Louise?
I just find it a little bit irresponsible from Chrissie to suggest that wearing heels will make you more susceptible to a rape
because
attack.
you couldn't run away.
Exactly.
Which is a matter of fact, is it not? That if you need to run away from someone who attacks you, high-heeled shoes, as well as a skin full of booze, could get in the way.
Yeah. I mean, I put on a pretty decent sprint in a pair of stilettos. I'm pretty dangerous, so I just find that.
I'm just trying to relate it. So the only thing I can relate it is I got mugged a fair bit as a youth in Croydon, and not only the police but my parents, and eventually figured out that a much easier way to go around business was to not dress in a way that attracted attention, keep my head down, avoid going to trouble spots late at night, go out in company rather than on my own. All common sense views. OK? I don't want to get beaten up, but if I want to avoid the situation, take care. That's all Chrissie Hynde is saying here, isn't it? Take care.
Well, I just think that, young people, women, men, you should just be encouraged to live your life.
But you can't
Nobody's
live your life.
asking for it. You're just a victim of perhaps circumstance. And if you put yourself in a situation where, you could be more vulnerable, i.e. if it's a case of walking down, the main street, which is well lit with people around, or going down a dark alley, you use a little bit of caution.
Right.
You exercise some common sense. I don't think it's fair for her to say, I was asking for it because of these things, because then
being
it
drunk,
suggests...
out of her head, dressing properly and going off with a bunch of bikers who are wearing badges saying, I love rape.
I mean, we don't know that that's not...
Well, that's what she said in her words.
Of course.
Now,
but I think that, the suggestion that wearing heels and being, inebriated...
She only says specifically on the heels it was to get in the way of running away.
Yes, but if you think about the amount of young people nowadays that are inebriated wearing heels on a Saturday night, then that suggests that everybody's open to it.
If you then look at the rising cases of sex assault, maybe there is a parallel to be drawn. I don't like it, but as I said, if you're told to put your mobile phone away to avoid getting mugged, then maybe you can extrapolate the same out to sort of putting your dressing modestly to avoid attracting attention.
I mean, I wish
it wasn't the case, but I'm just trying to be pragmatic. Dawn, actually, what do you think?
It's never a woman's fault. Being raped is never
Is it my fault if I get mugged if I wave a mobile phone out outside a tube station in the wrong part of town late at night?
Well, no, you shouldn't be mugged. I mean...
But if I want to avoid that possibility, it makes more sense to keep my mobile phone concealed and not wave it around in front of a tube station in the wrong part of town late at night. That is common sense.
Or you could just stay home and never come out of your house.
Well, there is that. But if I want to go out, doesn't it just make it easier to avoid getting mugged to keep my phone away?
Of course, and you do take reasonable steps. And you obviously take reasonable steps. But when I first read it, I was angry at Chrissie Hynde's comments when I first read it. And then I thought, oh, I think she needs counselling. I think she's really still quite damaged and she's just trying to make sense of what happened to her.
Yeah.
And it is a case that when women are raped or anybody that's subject to some kind of crime, you kind of blame yourself. I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that, I should have maybe have done this differently or that differently. So I kind of
would it not be
felt
the case that if she had a time, if it was your daughter, aged 21, if your daughter was dressed provocatively and off her face, would you say it would be unwise for her then to go off with a biker gang wearing I Love Rape badges? Would that be unwise?
Of course it would be unwise.
So there are things... She's essentially saying that you could do this differently.
But that's different from saying to a woman, you know, if you dress in high heels and a short skirt, then you're asking for it.
But she's not saying that. She's... The high heels line, she says specifically with regard to running away, and I think that's a difficult one.
It could also be used as a weapon.
Yeah.
You can also, you know, as my mum would say, take it off and conk him in his head.
Yeah.
So, you know, it could also be used as a weapon.
I have to agree with you. I think she's trying to reason with herself and perhaps trying to regain control of the situation that she didn't necessarily have control of. I think this is more a reflection of her behaviour and how she felt about the way in which she behaved and what that led her to those circumstances and anything.
Yeah, no, I have to say I don't agree with my fellow panellists, two ladies. I think she's actually been quite responsible, Chrissie Hynde. I think it's quite a brave stance to take. I think she risked the wrath of the Twitterati, and I think what my issue is with full responsibility, because I think I agree with you. It's never a woman's fault, but a woman does have.
Let's remember, men are victims of sex assault.
I think what we've got to be aware of here. You think of rapists as the predatory male in a bush who just grabs a woman and takes her away. Most rapes are not that at all. And I think you've got to be aware of the opportunist man. And that's where a lot of rapes take place. And I think women have to be responsible for the outcomes.
Just explain what you mean by full responsibility and not full responsibility.
Well, I agree with Dawn that it's not a woman's fault.
Right, I do too.
I agree with that. But I do think with opportunist males, we saw it recently on the news as a woman so inebriated she couldn't remember where she was, being carried by her assailant into a car park where the assault took place. Now, had she not been inebriated, then that wouldn't have happened. So that opportunist man did so because that woman was unaware of her own place on that night. So I do think Hynde does this with good intentions, and I think she has a lot of value to what she's trying to put across on the debate.
OK, we're going to take a break, very rather slightly, after which we're going to hear your calls. What do you make of what Chrissie Hynde has said? Is she right or wrong to blame herself? 0207 173 5555, the number. As many of your calls we can. After another quick break.
What percentage of sexual offences reported to cops aren't even registered as crimes? Is it 5, 15 or 25%? Find out after the break.
You said Lidl's was tastier than the big brand, with a tastier price. So with over a 40% saving, isn't it time you shopped a little smarter?
If you're paying through the nose for broadband, you might be tempted to give up and become a full-time off-grid spoon whittler. But wait, PlusNet has an offer you're going to love. This bank holiday weekend, get unlimited broadband free for 12 months when you take line rental.
How many spoons do you really need? That's better.
Free unlimited broadband with £75 cash back until the 1st of September.
Great service at a great price. It's broadband that loves you back.
Call 0800 028 8888 now. PlusNet will do you proud.
Lucky Tuesday. Win-win Wednesday. TGI Thursday. Feel good Friday. Super Saturday. with 5 live draws a week and millions going to good causes in your communities. When you play the health lottery, you win, good causes win, everybody wins.
Oh, thank goodness you're here, Dr. Beckman. I feel like I might have germs and be starting to smell.
Let's take a look.
Ooh!
This seems to me like a bad case of bacteria build-up. Don't worry, a dose of Dr. Beckman's Service It Deep Clean helps kill up to 99.9% of bacteria. It'll leave you feeling fresh and hygienically clean.
Thank you, Dr. Beckman.
Dr. Beckman's Service It Deep Clean, also available for dishwashers.
I found a diet that really worked for me. Thanks to Diet Chef, I saw amazing results. And now I can fit into all of those clothes sizes that I haven't been able to wear in years. And now I feel great.
Sign up for 3 months and get your first month half price. Breakfast, lunch, dinner and snacks for just £95 and this free standard delivery.
Diet Chef, the proven way to lose weight as part of a healthy lifestyle.
Order now at dietchef.co.uk.
That's dietchef.co.uk.
There are over 3,000 Premier stores serving local communities throughout Britain, all crammed full with incredible offers every day, like Whisker's fish, meat and poultry selection packs now only £2.50, and Lenore Fresh Meadow Spring Awakening Summer Breeze and Fairy Fabric Softener now only £1, or this basket of Euroshopper groceries for less than £3. All our stores are independently owned and run by local people for local people. Premier, amazing value locally.
Colin saved money at Money Supermarket, and now he feels epic. Colin, you are so Money Supermarket.
The all-new Suzuki Vitara. It lives from $13,999.
Thursday on Channel 5.
Welcome to Fox's Hotel.
A unique establishment with ordinary guests and extraordinary staff. The hotel with a big heart and even bigger personalities.
I love work.
A 3-part documentary, The Special Needs Hotel. Thursday at 10 on Channel 5.
Before the break, we asked what percentage of sexual offences reported to cops aren't even registered as crimes. The answer is 25%.
Welcome back to Monday's show with Louise, Hazel, Dominic, Holland and Dawn Butler. Dawn's going to bring you all the other headlines shortly, including claims we're not going to see the Chilcot report into the Iraq war until next June, at the earliest, and why mobile phones in classrooms could be a good thing after all. But first up, we're asking if Chrissie Hynde was wrong to blame herself for a sex assault she suffered 40-odd years ago. 0207 173 5555 is the number. The Pretender star, in her new autobiography, details how she was forced under threat of violence to perform sex acts on members of an American motorcycle gang when she was 21. Anti-rape campaigners say it's typical of victims to question they were at fault. Chrissie said she was sort of off her head and was dressed provocatively, but stressed they're never to blame. However, if the police were right to say think twice before using your mobile phone on the street lest you get mugged, then how come it's wrong for Chrissie to warn women to take care, to say dress conservatively, lest they get attacked? Let's cut straight to the call, Storm. Time is short.
We've got Dana on line 3.
Morning, Dana.
Good morning.
So, your thoughts, please, on Chrissie Hynde?
So, I think that as a person who has been a victim of a rape or a sexual assault, I think that Chrissie has a responsibility to help victims to realise, actually, that it's not their fault, rather than giving the perpetrators of these heinous offences an out. You know, by saying that women should dress a certain way, it takes the accountability and the responsibility away from perpetrators, and that's what the real problem is. Right. The problem isn't how people dress, it's
Dana,
people thinking they can do what they want.
Dana, Chrissie says, or implies, that the situation she went through wouldn't have happened if she hadn't have been drunk and hadn't have gone off with a bunch of guys, a motorcycle gang, wearing badges saying, I love rape. That is true, is it not?
Yeah, it quite potentially is. But then the biggest problem there is alcohol, not probably how she was dressed. You know, go out and drink responsibly then so that you don't find yourself in situations that you don't have control over. But how you dress shouldn't come into that.
Well, I will go back to the mobile phone argument. Do you think it is, if you go out late at night and you get out of a station in the wrong end of town and you get your smartphone, your £500-600 smartphone out and start screeching down it at 11 o'clock at night and someone comes along and mugs you, do you think in any way that might be your responsibility?
I think that, yeah, in a way you take certain responsibility for it, but then also that then is being in the wrong side of town. I don't think that if you go out and you're talking on your phone that you go to work for and you pay for, that you shouldn't be able to use it where you want for the fear of people out there thinking that they can do what they want. The biggest problem is teaching people how to act better rather than the victim always feeling like they're to blame.
But in the meantime, if you want to avoid getting smacked in the face or whacked on the back of the head with a lump of something, I don't know what I was hit with, if you want to avoid that, then until we reach the day where we live in a crime-free utopia, it is common sense, is it not, to take steps to avoid potential trouble?
Yeah, I think there are steps that you can take, but what I don't think, though, is that if you don't necessarily take those steps, that you should live with the guilt with that for the rest of your life. I work with young people who have been through heinous crimes, the victims of really heinous crimes, and the first thing that I always try to teach them is, yeah, you can take responsibility for what happened, but you cannot live with that guilt for the rest of your life because it leads to such a path of destruction that is dangerous for the rest of their life. It impacts on them tremendously, and it's not right.
OK. Are you and Dominic on the same sheet here? I mean, Dominic is saying that it is absolutely wrong to say, yeah, I got raped, it is my responsibility. To take complete responsibility, that is wrong. But in actual fact, there is a partial responsibility to be taken here.
I think that you can look at a situation and you can see where potentially it could have led to that, and then you use that then as a platform to make sure that that doesn't happen to you again. But I don't think that you should overall just say, I went out dressed in a miniskirt, I got a little bit tipsy, and I invited rape into my life, because nobody invites it, no matter what you do.
Nicely put, Dana, thank you.
But without that, Matthew, the opposite is you can go out and do whatever you like with complete impunity, because you can't. There are dysfunctional men out there who will take advantage of women. And therefore, that reality is always going to be the case. So women must take responsibility, some responsibility for what's going to happen to them. That's common sense, which is why I think Hind should be supported.
No, they take responsibility for acting reasonable, but not for what happens to them. Because
OK, then, Dawn, what about the woman who is carried by her assailant and didn't know it had happened until she saw the video? Yeah, is she responsible for that? Is she partly responsible for what happened to her?
She's not responsible for the guy carrying her and assaulting her.
No, she's responsible for getting herself into a state and inebriated.
But she's responsible for, having too much to drink, or maybe she was drugged. Maybe he drugged her drink. He could have spiked her drink.
Would you say to a girl then? Would you say to a girl who does go out, and let's say she does get so drunk that she doesn't have any conscience of where she is, would you say that girl is being irresponsible?
Yes, getting drunk, being irresponsible, but she's not. There's a caller said inviting
I think that it's not
life.
Such a progression to say if you're irresponsible for getting drunk, it's not such a leap to get to the point where you say, and that happened to you as a result of your irresponsibility.
I think it is a leap.
I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming her. I'm trying to understand what Hind did as a brave thing to do, because there are too many women being assaulted. Yeah, and she's trying to address that.
There would be people saying "I love rape" should be arrested. Well, the problem is as well they're not being arrested and they're not being charged, and the police are not taking rape seriously.
That is a very serious point to end up on, actually, because if we're really going to deal with this problem, we have to start putting the bad ones behind bars, and that's a great note. Great note. OK, we'll leave that one there. It's a subject I'm sure we'll address again. But after the break, it's Dawn with all the other headlines for you, including claims baby food is what gives kids a sweet tooth, and the football fan who scored an own goal after travelling miles to see their team play away. Find out more in 4.
According to today's Daily Mail, in the past year, residents have phoned local councils to ask for what? Hotel prices, noodle recipes, or crossword answers? Find out after the break.
Empower your freedom with the Jeep Cherokee and its new 2.2-litre engine.
I just want to talk about this Haribo Star Mix Sweeties. I like the hearts because they make me feel love. And also I like the rings. And the gold bears. Because it looks like it's a ring when they go swimming so they don't drown. And then look, you can make a big sandwich.
It's love, it's all a happy world of Haribo.
Buenos Aires, Tommy. What are you watching?
Nothing yet, mate. I can't find the remote.
Well, you're not going to watch these then?
No, I've seen them loads of times.
Can I have them?
Be my guest.
Can I have your old phone?
Yeah, if you want.
And these?
Listen.
And your console?
You'd be doing me a favour.
Belter! Get in! Great doing business with you, Tommy.
Stop doing that.
The surprisingly easy way to get rid of clutter. Price, box, send. musicmagpie.co.uk.
When it comes to house every week.
Your weekend has never sounded so good. This is House Every Weekend, the album. Out now.
When you pull that check out, it's just absolutely phenomenal. You don't know how to react, you don't know whether to cry, laugh, or just smile.
It's just a relief that goes from your head right down to your toes. The stomach turns, and you think, oh my God, this is it, yeah, wow.
I think it's never going to happen to you. Never. And then when it does, oh my goodness, it's absolutely marvellous.
Get your ticket before midnight on the 18th of September.
I'm made up.
There comes an age when they want to spread their wings and fly. An age when they meet new princesses and true princesses. At an age when they don't want to be treated like a little kid anymore, there is still a place where their dreams come true, as grown up as they might be. So don't wait.
Parties in gardens and alfresco cooking. Prices so low you can buy without looking. Brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favourite things.
Keep standing tall and hold your ground. Show 'em it's not okay to let 'em kick you down. Don't let 'em ruin your time. It's never, never, never. Just let 'em know it's your life. So do it, use it, flaunt it, own it. Ooh, that's right. Yeah, you better get
Number 7. Ta-da!
Tuesday on Channel 5. The venue. The cake. The dress. Others want...
Can you do fish and chips?
Something a little more. The brand new series, I Want That Wedding. Tuesday at 8 on Channel 5.
So according to today's Daily Mail, in the past year, residents have phoned local councils to ask for what? The answer is all three.
Thank you very much indeed, and welcome back to Monday Show. Half an hour longer to celebrate the bank holiday with Louise, Hazel, Dominic, Holland and Dawn Butler here at present. A little later this morning, I want to get your thoughts on spy cams in the workplace. Do they undermine staff confidence? 027173555, the number of your thoughts. Maybe they do, but don't they also provide reassurance, say if a false allegation was made against you or one of your team? Right, now that's over to you, Dawn, for all the other headlines. What are we kicking off with?
OK, so page 1 of the Times. Tony Blair again. Blair faces inquiry over secret bid to save Gaddafi. So it says Tony Blair, yes. Tony Blair must explain to Parliament why he allegedly tried to save Colonel Gaddafi before the Allied bombing of Libya, senior MP said last night.
He'd made a call, is that right? It's alleged he made a call.
It's alleged that he made a call and and oil maybe was mentioned in the call to number 10 and all of this. And then, you know, the MPs have got excited and said, you know, Blair must come and explain this to the inquiry. But I don't really think he should. I just think, why waste money? I mean, it's a biography on Cameron.
Right.
And further down the story, it says, Cameron includes a string of revelations that will embarrass the Prime Minister, but yet still the story's all about Blair. So
I mean, there's the famous photo, isn't there, of Tony Blair sort of glad-handing Gaddafi in his tent out in Libya.
Yeah.
And that was at a time when, as we understand it, we gave Gaddafi's regime small arms in exchange for better access to his oil fields.
And I don't think he
those
made
small
any
arms are now used in the civil war. So,
and I don't think he made any excuses for being friends with Gaddafi at that time, and maybe even afterwards. It's, you know, it's horrendous, but I don't really think we need to have an inquiry around it.
I agree with you there. It's, what about, I thought when you first saw Blair looming out there, you're going to say that Tony Blair says don't vote Corbyn for the third time in as many weeks,
again.
thus ensuring thousands of people vote for
Thousands
Corbyn.
more blocks to his campaign.
The irony is thousands vote for Tony Blair.
Oh my God. But this is quite good. In the story here, the Prime Minister became so annoyed with Boris Johnson publicly coveting for his job, he told him to effing shut up.
Yes. I didn't know they taught those kind of words at Eton.
I think they created some of them. Their own secret language, I think.
Now, next is also, I suppose one might argue, there's a touch of Tony Blair about it. This is Chilcot.
Page 6 of the Mail. Family's fury as Iraq war report delayed until June. And I'm thinking, June, that's not so bad. I think it's June next year. Yeah. I think June has gone this year.
10 months.
10 months. And it's outrageous. It's cost £10 million already.
And taken longer than the actual war itself.
Longer than the war. There's been lots of errors in the initial report. Things are wrong. And you know, I just think why
is it so late, John? I mean, Chilcot's sort of saying, you know, we have to give everybody that's mentioned in the report a right of reply. It takes time. The Americans have been particularly helpful. Loads of documents being redacted. All of this, and then the families are sort of saying, you know, my son died in this conflict. When do we get to hear? I mean, is there a cover-up? Is it, or is this just how? I mean, public inquiries reports take time.
And
and a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, the families have asked for a draft. Let me see the draft.
Yeah.
You know, they're desperate to see something, and I can understand that. I can understand their desperation to want to know what's happened. There's Reg Keys, who says that my wife died in 2011 without ever knowing the outcome. I can't put this behind me until this is settled. I need the answers for Tom and for me, and I want them now. And I just think it's gone on too long.
But as a politician, George, the answers that the families want, I think we all know they're not going to get, because these people, these people who preside over our world, they will not allow anything to defame their previous career.
Is that Chilcot or the people that?
I think all of them. They're all complicit.
So why have
they're all complicit.
My view is, why have a pretense? Why have this drag through? Why have this drag through for so long? £10 million take this long. If that's the case, I think, you know, fess up to it and have the report out there.
Well, from your profession, which politicians do fess up?
Well,
on something so seismic as that.
Well, the thing is, it's supposed to be an independent report.
Supposed to be an independent report.
I mean,
the previous reports were all independent.
Yeah.
So really, are we going to get to justice? I don't think we are.
But we have to.
None of us are expecting.
We still have to do it, don't we?
We still have to do it. The report
is to pay lip service.
Well, I mean, what they
take time. The Bloody Sunday was over 25 years. It took years to even get a Hillsborough one underway. And the suspicion in both of those events is the establishment just want it kicked in the long grass, make it go away. And if you look at Hillsborough, a number of key figures have actually died of old age while the machinations of justice have been going through.
But what these people have lost their sons really wouldn't want to hear is that war was worth it. Yeah. Your boys did not die in vain. Yeah. And who would make that case now?
Yeah. I know. But I think that regardless, the report... And there's another report to say that we need to stop spending money on the report. So if there's, you know, if there's amendments that need to be done or it needs to go through, then fine, let that happen, but let's stop spending money. But I do think the families need something in the interim.
OK, we must move on. We'll run out of time even on a specially extended show. Unbelievable. It's all good stuff, though. Right.
Page 4 of the Times. You know, this won't take long.
Go on.
People should use mobile phones in class. Huh?
Not presumably to call their drug dealers.
Well, you know, and it says private head, so it's mainly independent schools that have said, you know, we're going to allow pupils to bring their mobile phones in class. Maybe because pupils bring them in the class anyway and they're out of control.
Well, I suppose that's part of it. Is why fight a battle you can't win.
But tablets are but it's ridiculous. Tablets are different from computers, so you can use tablets. But not mobile phones. I mean, mobile phones, you'll be texting your mates, you might get bullied, you might get harassed.
But if you need to find the information and your friend has the information...
Use a computer. Oh, come on, your friend in the back row that's, you know, tweeting you a picture or something that they shouldn't be.
To be honest, I just assume this sort of taps into the, you know, should pupils use calculators or not use calculators? Should computers use the internet or not use the internet?
It's different, though, isn't it? Calculators to mobile phones.
Yeah.
You can be on Facebook
mobile phone's
during
got
your
more
lesson.
computing technology on it now than we used to have in the Apollo lunar missions.
Yeah,
so why not enable people? Surely the key now is not to know stuff up here, is to be able to access and
But then how do you
find
function in society
information.
if you don't know stuff up here? You can't Google everything. You know,
I disagree.
Yeah, but I know you can.
I
But he does say this is akin to giving children a game, a camera, and a television while they're trying to learn, which I agree with. I mean, how preoccupied are we, you know, with our mobile phones every time it, you know, beeps or vibrates? It's ridiculous. And this one will shock you. You know, nobody knew this, right? Daily walk makes you live longer.
Oh, who would have thought it?
Who would have thought it? Who would have thunk it?
25 minutes a day.
How come dogs only live 10 years?
They don't. Big dogs only live 10 years.
Well, you know, they walk all the time. They don't live long.
That's a good point. They do a lot of running.
Yeah, dog
70.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is good news for dog walkers, as I walk Wiggy to sort of an hour a day, I suppose, an hour and a bit a day, so I'm going to live forever.
I mean, I don't know, every time it comes up all the time, doesn't it? Walk for 5 minutes, walk for 10
because
minutes,
we're very sedentary, aren't we? Here we are, sitting around. I started today at the computer, sitting around writing the script. I'm now sitting around here doing here. I'll go home and sit around and have some food. And if it wasn't for the dog, I'd probably sit around and watch telly.
Maybe we should have a stand-up desk. They
Or just go
do
to
your
Carnival.
shows in a stand-up desk. You know?
Have you got one at work?
No. I did say I wanted one in Parliament. Can you imagine?
You can get really high-tech ones to go up and down.
So can I have a stand-up desk? They were like, what? You want what?
She's one of
I said,
those.
what's a stand-up desk?
OK, next one.
Neurologist and writer Oliver Sacks, the poet laureate of medicine, dies at the age of 82. He wrote that film, Awakening. Right. The Awakening, it was a book, and then they made a film based on his book where he kind of unlocked people that are in this state for years. And he's died aged 82 of cancer. And he was still swimming at the age of 81.
Should have been walking.
Should have been walking, not swimming.
His skill, I suppose, was taking probably the most complicated fields of human science and medicine and explaining it to ordinary people in a language they can understand, which is what good journalism is about, actually. And that's why I think he's a very significant figure.
I think a lot of people will miss that. And as you say, it brings science to the masses, really.
And worth having that great obituary, because we rely on these clever people to make
Yeah.
our world better.
But it's the fact that he did it in a populist way. He got people on board. And so instead of, you know, the inner workings of the mind being the preserve of the very wealthy and the highly educated, ordinary people go into a bookshop and pick up his books, and he wrote many, and get a real insight into why we are the way we are.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's a great obituary to him. Brilliant.
OK,
And that's me.
OK, Dominic, what have you got?
So I've been given The Independent, very contentious, imponderable, subject, really, which is immigration. Theresa May has said that migrants should come to the UK only on the basis that they have a job, which is how actually the free movement of people is enshrined. It was how it was conceived. And then she says, if they don't have a job, we will return them. And this is all about controlling immigration, which we all know can't be controlled within the EU, because you don't return people. And so, really, Dawn, who'd be a politician? Because this is an imponderable problem. We definitely need immigration. You need only be in London for 15 minutes to realise the number of people doing jobs which, without them, our capital would close down. And yet, you clearly cannot have a porous border free at point of entry for everyone. So, who's going to solve this problem? May's trying. It's always difficult.
The trouble with her battle is sort of dealing with the EU, isn't it? Because
it's free movement.
There are fundamental principles which the EU will not surrender, and
It's enshrined in getting a job, but, you know, what about
It's
people
a free
coming...
movement of people rather than getting a job. Will that apply for people going to
And also, what
to
about
Spain?
what about the we're going to come on to it now. What about the vast numbers of people trying to come here who are fleeing terror? You know,
What do you make of there was a line last week essentially blaming bosses for hiring migrants? That's that they were fueling this sort of...
Well, we've seen these documentaries. The documentary in Lincolnshire about a chap who had an asparagus farm. He said, without Polish workers, I wouldn't be economic. Because they don't... British indigenous people do not pick them quickly enough.
Or well enough.
So he wouldn't have a farm, he wouldn't be paying his VAT and his... So this is a really big problem, and certainly bright people, that scientists, can solve it, because I haven't got the answers.
No.
It's a very difficult thing. And going on from that to the displacement of people, which is not about coming to the United Kingdom for a job, it's coming to the United Kingdom or coming to Europe to prevent yourself being killed.
This is the interesting thing about it. I mean, when you're looking at non-EU migration, I mean, we are talking about thousands of people escaping, not just economic migrants,
and why
but
would you
also
blame them?
refugees.
I'm lucky enough to have been at a holiday with my family this year, and we dotted around the Mediterranean. And it's a big ocean. It is not a pond. It's a big ocean, and people are trying to cross that in dinghies. But then I have sympathy equally with people who are a lot less able than the people on this panel, whose jobs are being taken by people who will do it for less. We discussed that earlier.
What's the story? It's Hungary, isn't it?
It's Hungary. Well, Hungary have a border with Serbia, and most people in this country don't even know that border or where that is. But these people from Serbia, 3,000 came across on Saturday, and they're displaced from Syria, from the civil war in Syria. We were trying to get rid of Sadat. That's what ISIS
it's the fences. Now, when they've built a 110-mile-long fence, complete with razor wire...
They have done, yes.
I mean, that's a pretty hardcore message they're sending out, that we don't want you in our country.
No.
And is that a bad thing to do? I mean, we've been talking about... We've got a fence that we put millions in Calais, which doesn't have loads of barbed wire, which seems totally ineffective. And we're sitting here saying, how do we deal with this migration problem? Well, it is a razor wire fence 110 miles long the way to do it. Clearly not totally effective if 3,000 people crossed over the border.
Look, no one would argue that it isn't an ugly and offensive deterrent. But legally, those people are not allowed to cross that field.
Right.
So if without that fence and they do cross the field, and then you open up the
I'm
whole
with
of
you.
Syria to come through into Hungary and then into Europe, there is going to be a cost to pay. So again, it comes down to the imponderable. Who'd be a politician? Because this is a real imponderable
It's
question.
also quite interesting that we, as I was saying to us last week on this show, that we tend to view immigration from our own sort of Little England point of view. This is our country, this is where the crisis is. The whole of Europe is facing an immigration crisis by and large.
Actually, Matthew, to be fair,
bearing the brunt of it.
we're not.
But also, in the last
We are responsible
100
for
years,
some of
the biggest migration of people...
Since the war?
No, since mankind. It's the biggest migration of people ever. Now, we have the internet and the jet plane. The world is smaller, same size but smaller because of communication. And try and manage that.
I bet a lot of people would like to see razor wire fences, I have to say. I bet that would play out well politically. Next one.
OK, so back to Britain, but equally contentious, our nuclear deterrent, which is up for grabs next year, whether it will be renewed or not with our Conservative government. But they've spent £500 million on the base in Scotland.
Firstly.
Ahead of that vote, which makes people think this is a shoo-in.
Yeah.
This
But you
is a
get
shoo-in
new
for Trident.
submarines, isn't there? New submarines
They
on the
are.
way. We just don't know what they're going to carry yet.
They are, but the question is, why would they spend £500 million on a base if they weren't going to renew Trident? Now, clearly, this is in Scotland, very good for the Scottish economy, but the SNP are very vociferously opposed to nuclear weapons in their country. So this will play out, but again, it comes down to I think we will renew Trident, and they will be in Scotland. There's an amazing story in the Mail. It's a fantastic story. We all have a council. Wherever you live in the United Kingdom, you have a council, and people phone their council for help. What time's the dump open? When's the stuff being collected? Stuff like that. Well, there are some extraordinary questions people have phoned up. And I'll just read a few of them to you. It's my favourite one. This is from a lady in Staffordshire. She's doing the crossword. So she phones up her council. She says 7 letters. James Bond's cat-loving nemesis begins with a B. 8 letters. Another fantastic one. What size of tin is required for the Mary Berry strawberry tart featured on the BBC's Great British Bake Off? Some county council. Here's another one. It's brilliant. This is Nottinghamshire Council. I met a boy on holiday in Ibiza, but I've lost his number. No. He said he lived in Nottingham, and his dad's a bin man. Do you know him? My favourite one.
Quite enterprising.
My favourite one, Poole Borough Council. What time does your website close?
The worst bit is they never tell you how the council responds. So, Blofeld, it would be marvellous. Or,
I'm not showing the council.
I want to know what they say by return. I know what they say if you phone up and say, like, I've got neighbours and they're having parties till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Tough.
They say, tough, we can't help you. That's what they say to that.
But a frivolous story in The Sun. It's a nice story. It's a Nottingham Forest fan, that venerable old club. Rhys Stenson, they're playing Cardiff City. It's a bit of a schlep, Nottingham, Cardiff.
Yeah.
And Rhys gets down to Cardiff early, just to think it's a bit odd that no one else is there. And he's tweeting outside the ground, picture of him outside the stadium, and it's a home game in Nottingham. So the poor lad had to schlep back, probably missed the match, I don't know what the score was, but poor lad.
Actually, we got through the whole show. I haven't mentioned Chelsea losing to Crystal Palace.
Fantastic.
Did I mention that? Yeah. And I think Crystal Palace currently second in the Premier League. Enjoy it while it lasts. That's what I say to fans of the Eagles.
Anyone
number
but
2.
Chelsea.
Yes. Happy days. Mourinho didn't know what to say. He was actually lost for words.
Didn't he say again, we didn't deserve to lose?
Yes.
You don't have to interview him, do you? You say that anyway.
Nicely done. And finally, Louise, what have you got?
So page 1 of The Independent, apprenticeships, the artificial reality. So The Independent have reported that hundreds of thousands of young people are being encouraged into low-skill and low-paid jobs or on-the-job training schemes, and that they've created unrealistic targets for the government to achieve by 2020. They want 3 million apprenticeships.
The suggestion is the apprenticeships are just not up to scratch, isn't it? They're jobs where you get a qualification that's equal to a couple of GCSEs.
I think less than 5 GCSEs. See, the thing that I think is a positive. I think an apprenticeship is a step onto the employment ladder. You're gaining necessary work experience. It doesn't matter whether
money at £2.70 an hour or whatever.
OK, that's not going to go very far.
But McDonald's, for instance, they were paid £10 million by the government, and they've created absolutely no jobs, and we're paying people £2.73 an hour, which is outrageous. So I think it has to be proper apprenticeships,
I think the other side of that is coming out of, out of schooling and not having any work experience at all. And I think that if you can gain, even if it's a little bit of work experience, even to say that you have a reference.
An apprenticeship. When I was indentured in newspapers, I had to do X number of years. I was sent away for courses. I was given a proper training. I could still do my shorthand and my law and stuff. I had a proper training. And these jobs aren't apprenticeships. They're talking about
they're less clerical, catering and retail.
Yeah.
So there is that element of cheap labour, I think, that needs to be addressed. At $2.73 an hour, it's, that's...
It's actually replacing people that maybe would be earning more money.
Yes.
So, they're taking jobs and they're converting them into apprenticeships, and it's just a big con, to be honest with you.
I think that it definitely needs a review, and it can definitely be structured and organised a lot better, but I feel that there has a lot to be said for experience, because a lot of children are coming out of schools.
There's lots to be said for a living wage as well, isn't there?
And it's getting the balance of both. It's getting the balance of both that I think that needs to be addressed here. And page 5 of the Times, a really sad story. A young man, 34-year-old Paul Gallahawk, has been missing since competing or his first time triathlon. He was last seen in Kent. He was raising money for College Hospital in London, and there's fears that he's actually drowned on course. He was doing a 750-metre swim.
It's hideous how they found at the end of the race there was one bicycle left, and they deduced that was from someone who was seen going into the lake, Mr. Gallahawk, who was then not found coming out, which is absolutely
it's dreadful.
Terrible.
When he was trying to raise money for King's College London after his father was treated there. He hasn't been found yet.
Not yet. It's a big old lake he was in as well. But some very kind-hearted people, the donations to his page, which whether this is in any way helpful, I think it probably, hopefully, is. His donations are starting to go through the roof. So
yes, people are kind of rallying together, and they're now flooding in and
very, very
support him and the family.
Good on that, aren't they? You're an athlete, Louise. They're normally very good on
people going in, coming out. And if you don't complete the swim in a certain amount of time, you're not allowed to do the cycle.
You know, I recently took part in my first triathlon just a few weeks back, and I'm surprised at how this has happened, because there were marshals with us. They were in canoes and they're paddling around with you. If you do get into trouble, you can kind of flag it up, and they'll pull you in and help you out. So. You know, it's tragic, and you know, wait to see what happens with that.
Come out of it.
Yeah. Page 5 of the Mail. Cheating oil workers fired after angry wife put sex tape online. So a couple of 2 former workers of, I think, Shell had apparently had a little rendezvous in a hotel and filmed it. The angry wife managed to find out she was probably snooping on the husband's phone.
It doesn't really matter. What she's essentially done, the angry wife, is what we now call is revenge porn, which is soon going to carry a prison sentence. So I'm fascinated by this. I think what I find interesting about the story is these 2 people have lost their jobs, and maybe what they did brought the firm Shell into disrepute. That seems entirely possible. But they've only been put in that position because someone has exacted revenge on them, and again, one might argue entirely justifiably because of the nature of the nature of the infidelity. What I'm left wondering is how come we're going to bring in a law that says this would be criminal, passing this, she sent it to every one of their contacts, I think to her husband's contacts, so they're all aware of this. Surely under those circumstances, Shell should have stood by their employees who are victims, one might argue, of a hate crime.
Yeah, I fail to have much sympathy.
They've been moved,
for the
to be fair.
couple.
They're still with the firm. They've just been moved to a different.
I fail to have much sympathy for them. Colleague Amy Maxwell, the lady who was involved in the affair, she's put a house up for sale. I think it was up for sale anyway, but she's looking to leave the area and obviously now doesn't have any employment. She says everybody's seen the videos. It's ruined lives, and I'm kind of like. I'm a little bit unsympathetic because I kind of think, hang on, this is a family as well. There's also...
But 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Exactly.
And the revenge element of it, you know, I can understand why the wife would have done it, but I don't think, well, in the future, we may very well see that kind of action being criminalised.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's not yet come into place yet, has it?
Not yet.
Oh, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I kind of think you have to take responsibility for your actions on this one as well. And this could certainly be avoided. And moving on, page 10 of The Guardian, prepared baby food is too sweet and lacking in greens, academics say. So there's been some studies, I think in the university, I think it's up in Glasgow, that's right. They're saying that we're selling baby foods, they've got naturally sweet products, apples, carrots, sweet potato, and so young children, babies, are getting more of a taste for sweeter foods.
Well, we should give them duller vegetables, so lettuce, cabbage,
do you know
something
what?
more bitter. So they actually have the range of flavours, but then if they don't like the flavour, they won't eat it. So
I've got 4.
Yeah, they'll eat it in the end.
They will. They'll eat what you give them. Yeah, they're hungry. Yeah, but
you're right. Yours, gruel.
Well, you know, I don't think there's no substitute, I believe, for fresh food that's cooked. You know, you can puree
You've still
vegetables.
got the same... I mean, if you puree those self-same ingredients, though, you still have the self-same problem, which is you've got too much sweetness, not enough bitterness. You want to go down Dominic's route and find really unpleasant tasting things, grind those up and feed those to your kids.
Spinach and kale.
Holland's baby foods. It's got a ring to it, hasn't it?
Thank you.
Holland's bitter baby foods. They're nasty. Yeah?
I think you might be on to
that could be the slow. I like they're nasty.
They'll be ready by tomorrow.
But yeah,
you know what? I think maybe we'll make up some and try them tomorrow, see how unpleasant they are. Holland's gruel.
I would like to see parents, you know, cooking more and making their own things.
Yeah, but you've got to cook those wide range of ingredients, not the sweet stuff all the time. There's natural sugars can be just as well. Any more?
Yep. And finally, page 4 of The Star. Sat-navs, apparently, will be introduced, potentially, into driving tests. Interesting, because I'm kind of like, do you really need to pass put a sat-nav test into a driving test?
If you think how many cars have sat-nav and how many people use them, do we not need to teach people how to use sat-nav while driving carefully? It seems entirely logical. if you're going to teach people, years ago you used to have to do hand signals in a car because cars didn't have indicators. And they've gradually been phased out, so you don't have to do that to turn right.
There's lots of distracting things.
That's slowing down.
That's slowing down to turn right. Rotate out of the window.
I don't know how
Is that right?
Yeah.
How old are you?
Old enough.
Yeah.
Old enough. Yeah, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think for people who aren't perhaps familiar with sat-nav systems, if they're going out and buying a new car and haven't had one in the past 25 years, nor needed a sat-nav...
Fairly intuitive, aren't they? Fairly.
Do you know, yes and no, but it's how you
be.
use them. Should you, if you're driving down the M1 at 70 miles an hour, should you start programming your sat-nav? That will be... It's a fairly simple question that should be in the
What
driving
about those box set CDs you get in the garages that you can't open when you're driving along? You're trying to get a new CD out. They're dangerous.
Confess to a crime. Do you care and attention?
You see me swerving.
On the steering wheel.
Anyway,
interesting to see what direction
they're also
they
talking
take
about
with this one.
raising the age at which you have to reapply for your driving test for your licence to 80. They're talking about
to 80.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a bit,
Well, it's every 10 years, isn't it, with the new licence? Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. After the break, we're asking if spy cams in the workplace, schools, colleges, hospitals, care homes undermine staff confidence. 0207 173 5555, the number of your thoughts. Even if that's true, don't they also provide reassurance, say, if a false allegation was made against one of your team? Anyway, your thoughts on this after another quick break.
What percentage of us would install a secret camera if we thought carers were abusing a loved one? 57, 77 or 97%? Find out after this short break.
It's the Shreddies Good News Team with today's top stories. Everyone's buzzing about honey shreddies. The nation's going loco for cocoa. And expect showers of frosted shreddies all morning long. Shreddies' fabulous flavours. Good news for everyone.